Greetings, everyone. Can you hear me? Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. All right. Greetings, everyone. How are you? So I think I got the software working now, and I went live a little bit early just to get it going. And I plan on doing this till about 7:40, because then I have to go to the gym so that I don't stay fat. But if you have any questions, just put it in the comments. So I decided to do a live stream if we hit 5,000 viewers. And as of about 10 minutes ago, we had 6,001. So that's very surprising that there's that many people who are interested in these videos and what I have to say about these body cams. And we do have a kind of a guest here behind me, Cookie Monster. Let's see if I can unmute the blur. You can see her. Say hi, Cookie Monster. No. Cookie, want to say hi? She's a beagle, so it's hard to get her motivated to do anything. But I think if I had Cookie on the videos, we'd get a lot more viewers. Anyway, so welcome to the live stream. I think we'll keep it going till about 7:30 or 7:40 because I have to run and do some errands. So if you have any questions, just leave them in the chat. And I guess I'll start by saying that this is kind of the third life for the channel. So I started this with my friend Dave. And if you look at some of the early episodes, there's two of us, and it's me and my friend Dave. And Dave is a lawyer and or used to be, and he's bald and he wears shirtless t-shirts. And we would always get like dozens of hateful comments about the way he's dressed and that people didn't think he was a lawyer because he looks like a skinhead. And I kind of used to get a kick out of it because I said, like all the hate comes towards him and, like none of them comes towards me. So I don't care if people leave hateful comments on the videos I post now because I find them funny. Somebody called me a moron and misspelled moron. They spelled it with 2 R's, and I looked it up, and moron with 2 R's is a bell pepper, so it's not that offensive. But anyway, if you guys have questions, just put them in the comments. But yeah, I started this with Dave, and we would just, shoot the shit and do videos on things like the Alec Baldwin shooting or the Daryl Davis trial. What is his name? The sovereign citizen. And I didn't know how to shoot and edit. And, so I would just call him on Zoom and we would record the call. And if we made a mistake, I would just say, okay, I'm going to hang up and call you back, and then just throw it up like that. And then he decided he didn't want to do the channel anymore. So I kind of put it into hibernation. Then when I left the federal government, I saw a lot of people getting laid off and, didn't know what to do. So I started putting these videos out, telling people about, like their rights in a RIF, how much severance they're entitled to, how much compensation, things like that. And I'm not a labor attorney, but, I do have an internet connection, an ADHD, and a law degree. And, you put those together and I can kind of figure things out. And then I sort of stopped doing that because, the administration wasn't really following the rules. So I didn't know how helpful that advice would be. And then about a month ago, I started putting up these body cam videos, and it seems well received. Looks like the viewership has doubled in the last month from 3,000 to 6,000 as of about 10 minutes ago. So, thanks for doing that. I'm glad you guys are enjoying that. And I see there's a few of you on the live stream. So if you have any questions, just put them there. But the insults I get, some people question if I'm really a lawyer and things like that. And I am actually a lawyer. I had a very unusual background for a lawyer. So I grew up in New York City, and my dad was in construction. And I actually used to do construction with him. And then he was injured in a accident where he fell from the 4th floor to the 2nd floor, and he broke his back. And then, shortly after that, he had to shut down the construction company and that I was working with him on. And shortly after he got injured, I almost died in the same building, and we left there, and then work continued there, and somebody actually did die after that. So it's a very strange story. But I wasn't doing construction anymore, so I was kind of, I was still training in the gym. I used to kickbox, and then, doing construction on the side. I got into sales, and then a friend of mine was murdered, and he used to talk to me about being a NYPD officer before he was murdered. He was only 17, and he really wanted to do it. And he mentioned to me this thing about the NYPD auxiliary. You can be an auxiliary cop, and he wasn't allowed to do it because his mom wouldn't give him permission. He was only 17. And then when he got murdered, I decided to look into it. I was 18 or 19, and then became certified as an NYPD auxiliary, and that was kind of interesting. And I realized being a cop wasn't for me. But it was during the early 90s, which is one of the highest crime rates in New York City. People were getting murdered right and left in the 80s and 90s. But I never got hurt. I never got injured. I didn't have a bulletproof vest. I didn't have a gun. All I had is a billy club. But, I think I'm not a dick to people. And I think, if you treat people with respect, and, that goes a long way. So, I decided that wasn't for me. And I was in sales, and I noticed I wasn't getting promoted because they didn't take people with that college degree seriously. So, I went to community college, and then to get my bachelor's at night, and then eventually went to law school. And I did really well in law school, and I actually got a job at a firm doing securities law. And I really am interested in like some of the criminal stuff. And actually in law school, I got the highest grade in criminal law and criminal procedure because I found it fun. But, I grew up poor in New York, and I did construction, and criminal attorneys don't make a lot, and I didn't want to be poor for the rest of my life. So I thought, if I'm going to do this and, borrow all this money, I might as well have it pay off. So I went into the corporate stuff. And my first job, I was hired to do IPOs, and I actually it was during the dot-com crash. So all these high-tech IPOs that were planned evaporated, and then they moved me into the mergers and acquisitions group. And I got to work on some big deals, including the biggest merger in the world at the time, the AOL Time Warner merger. But it was incredibly boring, just literally hundreds of boxes of documents. And I thought that wasn't for me. And then I went to, after a couple of years of that, to the government. And then I was there for 22 years, and I left in January of last year. So after 22 years, and it had nothing to do with what's going on now with all the layoffs and everything, but my agency had too many people, and they offered a buyout. And I just did the math. And as long as I got to keep my health insurance, I figured, okay, this is great. And then I can just do something else for the rest of my life. And one of the things I've been doing for the rest of my life is this YouTube channel. So, other interesting things, I'm making a baby. So that's interesting. That's another thing I'm doing with my life. We're expecting in March. So I'm a little old to be a dad, but I'm looking forward to it. So, if you have any dad jokes, put them in the comments, but I'm looking forward to being able to tell some dad jokes. Hold on a second here. I'm going to, this my first time using this software, so I'm just going to put a test there to see if the comment section is working. Yep, it's working. So any questions you guys have about law or the site, the channel, or the videos I did, just leave them in the comments. I will say I was surprised at which videos did well and which ones didn't. So the one with the girl from Kansas got over 100,000 views, and that's insane. It's the one where they handcuff her on the plane, and she is handcuffed, and she's kicking the officers and saying, "Fight me, fight me." And then they put her in the cell, and then she screams for 2 hours. It's absolutely insane. But I didn't know that would be the highest ranking videos. There's a lot. There's ones that I spent a lot more time on that didn't do as well. And then there's some that are really surprising. Like there's one that has less than 500 views. And I was shocked because it's really odd. And, like when I saw it, I said, okay, I have to do a video on this. And it's a guy in Florida, obviously, and he went on a job interview, and he ended up getting arrested And if you're thinking, well, maybe the job interview didn't go well and, he got arrested after that, like, no, this is before the interview. So he didn't even have the interview. He was in the waiting area and, it's kind of like an atrium thing. And he was smoking and somebody told him not to smoke. And rather than knock it off, he lights up another cigarette and he puts it out on the guy's chest. And then they end up fighting and then they call the police. And when he's in the back of the cruiser, he just starts trauma dumping on the officer and saying like, this guy thought he could bully me, but, I was in the army and nobody bullied me. And then he starts talking about, people used to bully him in high school and it's just like, just a really weird ending. But, that got less than 500 views. So I'm surprised because, like who gets arrested at a job interview? But, I don't know what people like and what don't like, what resonates with them. But, the one with the woman screaming on the plane from Kansas, that was surprising. But, people liked it. And I think the second most viewed one is that woman who was on a date and then she wouldn't leave. And then the cops trespassed her. And then she took off all her clothes and was walking around the community. And I don't know what to make of that, but that was an interesting one as well. I would watch that. And that's why I did a video on it. But so once again, if you have some questions, put them in the comments and I'll answer them. But yeah, so that's the history of the channel and how I became a lawyer. If I had to do it again, I don't know. If somebody asked me if they should go to law school now, I probably would tell them no, because things have changed a lot and not for the better. So now in private practice, it's par for the course to have about 2,000 billable hours, which works out to about 40 hours a week. And that doesn't sound too bad, but you got to work a lot more than 40 hours in a week to bill 40 hours. And yeah, so, and if you want, that's just the bare minimum, then you're barely scraping by, and you have to do more than that if you want to stand out and make partner. So I wouldn't recommend it now. And, something I didn't consider when I went to law school is that your law degree doesn't really travel very far. So my better half and I have talked about living abroad. But, if you're an auto mechanic and you move abroad, you're an auto mechanic. If you're a doctor, you move abroad, you're a doctor. But, if you're an attorney and you leave your country, you're just a tourist wherever you go. Even if you just go to another state, you can't practice in that state without taking the bar or getting waived in. It's a whole process. It's very strange because everything is online except law and the certifications because it's very state specific. But I don't know. Let me know which videos you guys liked and if you have questions about that. I know people have legal questions that they put in the comments. And I'm always careful to tell people like, this is for educational and informational purposes, and it's not legal advice because there's 50 states and I'm only licensed in 2 of them. And I don't want people relying on my legal advice that is true in my state and getting in trouble in their state. But, just in general legal questions, I find it fascinating, which is why I enjoyed law school. Some of the people that were in law school were there because, their parents were lawyers and then they went to law school. And some people went there for more mercenary reasons because lawyers make money, they think. That's part of the reason I went. But let's see. Ms. LT, found your channel today. I watched the video with the chiropractor. I'll check out some of the others. Thanks. Oh, glad you liked it. There is a crazy one that I put today. If you like that one, that you'll like. So this guy is getting a trespass warning and he ends up with 5 felonies. I just released it today. It's absolutely insane. He was in the car. They told him to leave because he was blocking the driveway of this gated community. And he seemed to think that they couldn't trespass him, that's not how trespass law works. And you got to check out the video because they handcuff him and he doesn't go quietly. He ends up trying to grab the officer's gun. He's kicking them and he's shit talking them the entire time. The 4 officers are wrestling him to the ground. So it's insane. You should find that, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, the chiropractor one was funny because like he's very full of himself. And I think, if you have something wrong with your ego, that's when you're full of yourself. So I think he probably couldn't make it into real medical school. And I have people come after me in the comments because I say chiropractors aren't real doctors, but they're not. And so because he's a chiropractor, not a real doctor, I'm sure, he's got this inferiority complex. and sort of wants to take it out on other people, and blames then canceling his ticket for being drunk on his wife. But then he goes completely nuts in the cruiser because he says, how dare you? I'm a doctor. I save lives. And I just, how does a chiropractor save somebody's life? That doesn't even make any sense. But anyway, but the two hills I will die on is that no one should ever take a field sobriety test, and that chiropractors are not real doctors. So when I tell people this, because they're like, oh, I was in a car accident, a chiropractor helped me. If you look up the history of quackery, it was invented by a grocery store owner in Iowa. I'm not making this up. You can look it up. And, he used to talk to spirits. He thought, like, beyond the mirror, there's a spirit world, and that somebody there told him that, you can cure the body by manipulating the spine. And that's one story that he told about how he came up with quackery. The other story that he tells, his name is Palmer. And there's a school called the Palmer School of Chiropractic Medicine in Iowa, where he's from, and had a grocery store. The other story of how he came up with chiropractic is he was telling a dirty joke, and he thought it was so funny that he slapped somebody in the back hard, and it cracked their back, and then they went from being deaf to being able to hear. It sounds like a crazy story, but this is what the guy who invented chiropractic claims. And that's why I think chiropractic is nonsense. You're not real doctors. Come at me. But I enjoyed that video as well. Thank you for saying that. So any other questions, just put them in the comments, and I'll address them. So Cookie Monster's here. She is usually my supervisor. She doesn't do much like most supervisors, but what can I do? She's my boss. Normally she's upstairs with my better half, but my better half is out of town. So Cookie Monster is hanging out with her second favorite human. Let me see if I can bring her on the channel here. Cookie, you want to say hi to everyone? This is a live stream. Cookie. So this is a Cookie Monster. She's a pandemic pup. So my better half and I used to foster dogs. And then we got a beagle, and we had him for 8 years, and he passed away. And then, we kept fostering dogs because I wasn't ready to adopt another dog. But then the pandemic happened, and we couldn't get any fosters anywhere. We had applications out with like 4 or 5 different rescue groups. So we said, okay, if another beagle comes up, we'll adopt. But, my only thing was that it can't look like our old dog, because, when I had fostered beagles, it freaked me out because our dog had passed away, and, seeing another dog in his crate. But she's a beagle, but doesn't look like a beagle. And she, the personality is definitely not him. So she is my better half's favorite. And I was Sonic's favorite. And Sonic, was my buddy, and he used to hang out with me all the time. And for Cookie, I'm basically the poop valet, and she doesn't have a lot of respect for me, but that's okay. I was the favorite of the other dog for 8 years, so my fiance can be her favorite for however long we have her. There she is. She's silently judging me like she does when I work here all day. But that is what it is. All right. Thanks, Cookie. Let's see. All right. So for those that missed it, like, as I said, I grew up in New York. I worked in construction. I had a very unusual background. My dad got injured in a construction accident, didn't want me to do construction. And then, I kind of floundered around in sales, and was in college part-time, first community college, and then undergrad at night, and then eventually went to law school and became a lawyer. So turns out I'm decent at it. A lot of lawyers are terrible. And I know that because I deal with a lot of lawyers, and I think that's partly to do with why they went to law school. So, I found it interesting, which is, if you find something interesting, I think you can be good at it. But the people who went there because their parents were lawyers and were sort of forced into it, or the people who went there because they thought lawyers make money, they end up not being happy and, not doing too well. And during the pandemic, I had a lot of free time. So I was curious because I was cleaning out my office, and I had this poster that had everyone's face on it. for my first year of law school. And then I was Googling what happened to some of the people there. And it's kind of interesting because what I predicted would happen kind of happened. So the guy who was the biggest a-hole in class, he ended up getting disbarred. And I found the opinion somewhere that the judge said that, he was making excuses, but, he has some serious moral defects because, he has an inability to tell the truth. And then the people I thought would do well did do well. And, people are who they are. They don't change. So a lot of alcoholics in law school. And yeah, but that doesn't change either. So any other questions, just put them in the comments. I do have an interesting video coming out. So one of the comments I got about, the stuff I was shit talking the chiropractor, they said, oh, you're just jealous because you couldn't make it into med school. And as I said, chiropractors aren't real doctors, so I could have gotten to chiropractor school if I want. But there's a video coming out like tomorrow or the day after with a lawyer who got arrested. And I don't take his side because he was in the wrong. But that's a fascinating one also. The guy was in line at the buffet at a wedding in a fancy country club in Florida. It's always Florida. It's always got to be Florida. Anyway, somebody lets their little daughter cut in front of him in line. He starts a fight with the guy. A brawl breaks out. And if you see this guy, I'm sure people are going to say, well, this looks like the type of person who would get into a fight over a buffet. But, I thought it was really interesting that, you're a guest at a wedding and this behavior that he did would be inappropriate if he did it at a Red Lobster. Of course, the guy's going to let his little daughter cut in front of him in line. That's not something to fight about. But, this didn't happen at Red Lobster. It happened like a really fancy country club in Boca Raton. And, he ends up choking a guy. His wife hits somebody over the head with plates. Police get called. And, I remember seeing this on the news, and when I saw the video, I thought, oh, this would make a good, so that should be coming out in the next day or two. I'm just finishing editing it now. And like I said, there's a crazy one that I just released this morning about the guy who was trespassed and instead of driving away, ends up with 5 felonies. And one of them, the maximum penalty is 30 years in prison, aggravated assault on a peace officer. He tried to grab the officer's gun. It's like the Cersei Lannister thing. I choose violence. He could have left, but he did not. So chime in, leave something in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from, because I have no idea who watches these videos and where you're from. I do find some of the questions are really interesting because sometimes people ask things that I hadn't thought about or point things out in the video that I hadn't seen. Like the one in the woman with she was a hippie and the guy was, the police officer was arresting her and he was saying stuff. She's like, are you listening to yourself? And, she said, she didn't feel like she should have to pull over because, she didn't think she did anything wrong. Somebody pointed out something in the video that I didn't notice, but when he stuffed her in the car, her handcuffs were behind her. And then when he was talking to her, she moved her handcuffs to the front. So I didn't notice that in the video. I just assumed he handcuffed her in the front and I forgot about it. But yeah, somebody pointed that out. And then I thought like, oh, that's interesting because I didn't notice that in the video. So she obviously either slipped out of the handcuffs and put them on in the front or slipped out of them. But, it was good that she was able to move them with the front because when she told the guy, about the law and she made the quotey fingers, I think that was priceless. Watching from Southern California, welcome. So it's like 4 o'clock there. So, it's good that you're watching from there. I like California. I visited a few times, San Francisco, Los Angeles. But I will say that when I was in Los Angeles for a few days with my fiance, I've never gotten so many parking tickets in my life. And oh my God, it's like a shakedown. So I will never go to Los Angeles ever again, but I wouldn't mind visiting the rest of California. It's very nice, especially the upper part, the Pacific Northwest. So my family is from Patagonia in Chile. the Chilean side, and the geography looks a lot like Oregon or Northern California there. So we have sea lions where my family's from. So I do like California and Oregon. And as I said, no thanks, Los Angeles. Never again. I don't need more parking tickets. Most of my family is in Florida now, and I have lived on and off in Florida. So if you think I pick on Florida, like everyone picks on Florida, I'm allowed to, because I have enough roots there that I can get away with it. And I grew up in New York, so I won't make fun of New York, but I can make fun of New Jersey because it's tradition. And then I did go to law school in Illinois. So that's I did a video recently where I was talking about concealed carry and the FOID cards and stuff like that. So I think that's coming out in the next couple of days. So watching from Iceland. Oh, wow. That's amazing. Yeah, there's a lot of flights to Iceland, but I don't know that there's a lot to do, right? Because I understand if you're into outdoor stuff, you can go hiking and things like that. But every tourist thing I've seen about Iceland, they show you the saunas and things like that, and then tell you interesting things like there's an app for people from Iceland because everyone's related. So you have to, before you hook up with somebody, look on the app to make sure you're not committing incest. But Iceland is wonderful. I've never been, but I've been to Norway and Sweden a few times. My fiance, her ancestry is Norwegian, and then when we went to Norway, we found her great-grandfather's farm, and it was amazing because it had like these 3-foot thick stone walls. And there was a new building on top of it, but the foundation was the same. And I think it would be difficult to move that with modern equipment like earth movers. But, her great-grandfather somehow with horses was able to build that. So, it was pretty impressive. So, yeah, she's from her family from Stavanger, Norway. But, they've been living here. They came over when most of them did. Any opinion on why it seems like many DUI charges are dropped by the time it goes to court? I see it happening watching from Texas. Yes, I do. And there's a video I'm doing where I'm going to show two people or two separate videos. One, it seemed like the cop gave the guy a break because he was a prosecutor, but people had reported him as DUI. And when the cops got there, they gave him a warning and they didn't arrest him. And I'm sure people are going to be upset with that. But there's another one where it's pretty obvious, like this, it was in a parking garage and the woman was, kind of playing bumper cars and hitting a bunch of things. And she did get arrested for DUI, and it went all the way to trial and they acquitted her. And I think people have sympathy for drunk drivers because there's this thing that people call moral luck. So for instance, if you're going 5 or 10 miles over the speed limit, you do that all the time. And then you hear about somebody that got into a fatal accident and then they were prosecuted because they were going 10 miles over the speed limit. If it's something that you do, you might have a lot more sympathy for them than if they did something that you don't do, like shoplifting or stuff like that. So I think people have a lot of sympathy for that because, I think everyone at some point, even if they don't do it now, has, when they're in college, been drinking and then said, oh, I probably should not drive, but, I'll do this once. And so if it goes all the way to trial, they have a lot of sympathy for them. And also, I think sometimes the facts, even though it's pretty obvious to you if you watch it that this person is drunk, they're willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. So, for instance, the one in the parking lot, the woman who was the parking lot attendant said, this woman's been drinking and blah, blah, blah. And they arrested her, but the cop didn't see her drinking. And she was obviously intoxicated, but he didn't see her driving the car. And so, if you were on the jury and you feel bad for her and you're looking for a reason to set her off, to let her off, that could be one reason. And another reason is people have these weird ideas about how the law works. So the guy in the video I posted this morning who got arrested with the 5 felonies because he fought the police officer and tried to grab their gun, he was being trespassed, and he had this weird idea that in Florida, because it's always Florida, that they can't trespass him. They said, he thought, once I leave, if I come back, you can arrest me. But if I never leave, you can't make me leave, which is ridiculous. But that was his understanding of the law. And with drunk driving, I think there's this common misconception that, for instance, you can't be arrested for drunk driving on private property. So the one with the parking lot where she was playing bumper cars and bumping into signs and cars, one, the parking lot attendant told her about it. The cop didn't see it himself. And two, in that jury room, they might have said like, well, this is private property. Can they really charge her with that? And, well, yeah, they can. It turns out that you're not allowed to drunk drive anywhere on private property, public property. Traffic signs and stop signs and things like that don't apply on private property. They only apply on the road. But the prohibition against drunk driving applies everywhere. So I think the fact that everyone at some point in their life has probably driven drunk at least once or twice, and even though you don't do it now, you have a lot of sympathy for them. And so when the facts come out, you're kind of looking for some reason to let them off the hook. Like, they, like I said, it's private property, or, the cop showed up at the scene of the accident, but, they didn't see them drinking. So can you really prosecute them if you didn't see it happen? It turns out, yes, you can. But I will say I had a law professor who was an alcoholic, and everyone knew this. And he would brag that about the time he got into a horrible car wreck. He crashed into his neighbor's house, and he got away with it. And he had a really interesting strategy that I've never heard, but it was fascinating. So this law professor was driving home drunk, obviously, and was trying to pull into his driveway and overshot it and hit his neighbor's house. The neighbor called the cop, and this guy said, like, okay, I can't like leave my car here and go home because home is next door. The cops are going to find it. And, I know they're going to arrest me. And, he's had been arrested for DUI before. So he was trying to think what to do. So he goes inside, pulls out a bottle of Jack Daniels and sits on the porch and starts drinking. And then when the cops get there, they ask him, were you drinking? And he's like, no, but I just had a car accident. And I'm so stressed out that I decided to, have a few. And because they didn't test him when he got out of the car, how can you prove that he wasn't sober and then went home and had drinks and now he's drunk? So he did get away with it that one time, and it made for a really interesting story. But don't ever drink and drive. It's a horrible thing to do. But yeah, this law professor was a weirdo. But a lot of law professors are. So any other questions about the videos or legal questions that you guys have? Just put them in the comments. Somebody suggested some sovereign citizen stuff. And I've seen some of that stuff in court, but I don't like to do the court cam videos because they're so long and I'd have to sit through them. And if I don't find them interesting, I just feel like the body cam stuff is shorter, and then I can, if I find something that's got an interesting legal angle, I can do it. And then I like the ones that don't punch down on people. So I don't want to do videos where, like it's a homeless person or a drug addict or something like that. And then, I see other streamers do this or YouTube channels and like to make fun of them. Like, that's not me. But, somebody who, like that chiropractor at the airport who blamed everything on his wife, entitled people I don't mind making fun of. And the attorney, that'll be out tomorrow or the next day. I just finished editing it. He's at a wedding. The guy lets his tiny daughter, cut in front of him in the line, and he picks a fight with the guy. Like, that guy deserves to be made fun of. But it is what it is. So I don't know which videos did you guys enjoy and which ones didn't. As I said, sometimes I'm surprised which ones do well and which ones don't, because there was a crazy one with less than 500 views where the guy went on a job interview and gets arrested for assault because they told him not to smoke. And rather than not smoking, which a normal person would do, He lit a cigarette and put it out on the employee's chest, and gets arrested for that. And if you're wondering, that was Florida also. Uh, God bless you, Florida. Uh, I have to go to Florida a lot because all my family's there. And my family's crazy enough, but there's other Floridians that are even crazier than my family. So it's kind of a mixed blessing because it adds to the stress, but I also think, hey, it could be worse because I look around and I see this, and at least we're not that. So I enjoy the dumb shoplifting people. Yeah, some of them are surprising because, and I've said this before, like the people who shoplift from Walmart are not very bright because Walmart has very good security, so you should go shoplift someplace else. And Walmart, you know, they, I'm sure this has changed, but when I was in private practice, I did a lot of stuff with tech companies. And at one point, the Walmart headquarters had the second most computing power in the United States after the Pentagon. So, they really know how to crunch numbers and make the trucks efficient and everything like that. And they know how to catch shoplifters. And they will catch you. And if you thought like, hey, I shoplifted from Walmart, I got away with it. And it's like, well, you got away with it this time, but they know who you are. And, if you do it enough times, they're going to catch you because they already know who you are. And the one that surprises me is the skip scanning. So like, they'll scan some items and then not scan others and then pay with their credit card. Because when you're scanning the items, you can see yourself on video. So, they're watching you do this, and their security people and AI are going to catch it. But, when you're doing it and then you swipe your credit card, that has your name on it. So, the police aren't going to come after you for $24 or something that you stole when you skip scanned. But, if you keep doing it, they're racking that up. And then, when you come in the store, their facial recognition cameras will detect that and call the police. And then all of a sudden, you're hit with a felony because you've stolen hundreds of dollars of stuff, and they have you on video. So yeah, shoplifting is bad, and shoplifting from Walmart is not a good idea. There was one that a lot of people were watching with that very pretty lady who got arrested for shoplifting from Neiman Marcus where she worked. And that's surprising also because, she'd been there for 6 months, and, if you've been there for 10 years, you can probably get away with it because you know how things work and you've seen like what they catch people with and not. But if you're new there, they've got their eye on you because, like if you've been there for 10 years, you're not doing it as part of the long con and, saying like after 10 years, I want to shoplift. If you're new, you might be tempted, and whatever you've thought about, like, she would bring in something to get tailored and then take other things and say like, hey, I bought this here as well when she was leaving with it, apparently, allegedly. But that's something that I'm sure they've seen before. And, she's been working there 6 months, but Neiman Marcus has been in business for decades. So any scam that, you can think of, other people have thought of it before you. So you shouldn't do that. I was surprised with that because when I saw the mugshot of her, that is one of the most attractive mugshots I've ever seen. And even though this woman had no makeup and had been crying in the police car, wow, that looks better than most of the people, the profiles I've seen on Tinder or something like that. So it was surprising also because she works at Neiman Marcus, which is needless markup, which is full of rich people. So if she's that attractive, rather than shoplifting, rich people come in there all the time. Why don't you just marry a rich person and then you don't have to shoplift? You won't have to work either. But anyway, that's common sense. And that's why people won't listen, because it's common sense. I'm not drinking. I'm not an alcoholic. This is like actually an energy drink because I'm going to the gym after. But Cookie drinks, but she drinks water. Cookie, you want to say hi again? No, she doesn't. Any other questions or comments? Leave them below. So I did get some suggestions. Some people in the comments said they wanted to see sovereign citizen videos. And like I said, I'm not crazy about the court stuff, but I think I do enjoy the ones where they get their windows broken because they won't give ID or get out of the car, which I think is crazy. Because their whole theory is crazy that, you have no authority over me because I'm a sovereign citizen. But it's pretty well established that you have to ID yourself at a traffic stop and that the police can order you out. And it's not even questionable. There's actually a case that went all the way to Supreme Court. Everybody learns it in law school. It's called Pennsylvania versus Mims. And the police can order you out of the police car, out of your car during a traffic stop. So it's not even like something that's on the line. The Supreme Court has said, yes, the police can do this. So the sovereign citizens who get their windows smashed and dragged out of the cars and, feel like they're being aggrieved and, treated unfairly, they're not. It's pretty obvious they're not. But those are interesting. I kind of feel like they're all the same, though. I do like the airport stuff because airports are stressful. And whenever I see unreasonable people at the airport, I just move away because I don't want to engage. But some people, they just want to fight every fight. And I think, if you're going through the swamp, your goal is to make it to the other side of the swamp. You don't need to fight every creature along the way. And, people want to be argumentative in airports for some reason about baggage, about check-ins, about, whatever, and get drunk. I don't get these people. And the last time I flew, so in Dulles, they have this new X-ray thing where you don't have to take your laptop out of the bag because it does some type of 3D scanning. And I was taking my laptop out of the bag, and the guy said, "No, leave everything in there." And I said, "All right." And then I don't care. I'll take it out if you tell me. I'll leave it in there if you like. I just want to get through the check-in thing. The guy behind me takes out his laptop and he says, "Put it back in the bag." And he's like, you tell me to take it out all the time. It's like, well, I'm telling you to leave it in now. Well, you can't just change your mind on that. Take it out, leave it in, take your shoes off, put your shoes on. Like, why don't you guys make up your fucking... And he just started screaming at the guy. And I just said, okay, I'm going to walk away because I don't want to be a witness and then like miss my flight because they say, we need to take a statement. But what are you going to get out of having that fight? Like, I just want to get on my flight. He wants to win this argument and make a point. I hope he gave up the argument before he ended up in handcuffs. I don't know, because I don't want to be around to see it. I don't mind seeing it on YouTube, but if I see something like that and they're going to want to take a statement, I don't want to have to show up to court. I don't want to have to miss my flight. So if you want to argue with stupid people, that's part of your job, fine. But I see that, I just walk away. But that's my take on it. But the airport is interesting stuff. They do have restaurants everywhere and they all serve alcohol, but just because they serve it doesn't mean you have to get falling down drunk and then not be allowed to board. So people should learn that. Anyway, and it's not even like on the international flights where the booze is free. Like, you're paying for the booze. You could drink when you get home, but you want to drink before you get on the plane for some reason and have them not let you on the flight. It's just kind of a weird thing. And the really weird one was the guy who missed his flight because they wouldn't let him board. And he said, no, it wasn't over drinking. That one was over the luggage. He claimed his dad was dying and he needed to get on that flight. And they wouldn't let him on because they claimed it was too big and he had to pay the luggage fee. And he wouldn't pay the luggage fee, and he didn't want to rebook or anything. And he had been drinking in the bar, so he was obviously drunk. And I just thought it was weird because airport drinks are really expensive, and you probably drop $100 on airport drinks, and you won't pay to get that luggage and make it to your sick father's hospital bed. And then you're going to blame the cops and the gate agent over that when you're the guy who started it. So, like I said, people are just unreasonable, and my goal is to make it through life and avoid them and just get what I need to get done. But anyway, thanks everyone for coming. So I said I would do this when we hit 5,000, and then I set up this live stream, and then about 10 minutes before we went live, we hit 6,000. So thanks for that. And I will be doing some more videos. There's one coming out either tomorrow or maybe a little bit after that. I just shot today with the attorney who gets arrested. So if you think I pick on chiropractors, I'm picking on an attorney here. And there's the crazy one today where the guy gets a warning for trespass and ends up with 5 felonies. Yeah, that's amazing. But anyway, yeah, I have some errands to run. So thanks everyone for coming. And maybe I'll do another one at 10,000. All right. Thanks everyone. Have a great day.